Hey there, listeners. Cole here. In honor of the Elden Ring anniversary and the recent DLC announcement, we're putting out 2 free episodes for you to sample and enjoy. So this week and next, you'll get our episodes about Stormveil Castle, which originally aired end of last May, beginning of last June, something like that. Please be understanding of any out-of-date info that these episodes might have in them because of the way time works. This should give you an idea of what we sound like when we're talking about Elden Ring's huge legacy dungeons. If you enjoy this, you can find about 50 more Elden Ring episodes right now, with more to come at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. And that's in addition to a whole bunch of other stuff. So thank you for listening and enjoy.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
What are you doing here in Stormveil Castle? This place is bristling with tarnished hunters, you know. They sacrifice our kind for grafting. Here to challenge Godrick and lay your hands upon a great rune, are you? You can see it then, I take it. The guidance of grace. Well, enjoy it while you can. I'm tarnished, like you. But unlike you, I've seen neither hide nor hair of this guidance for the longest time. Still, I won't forget how it felt when I first came here, to the lands between.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a fell favorite.
And this week we are beginning our discussion of Stormveil Castle, our first prestige dungeon here in Elden Ring.
Yes. Yeah. Going to be 2 episodes. A couple of people have asked, hey, just do one big mega episode. We're still doing the same thing. We're just splitting it up different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. It's been a minute. Thanks everybody for their patience who are want this to go faster. Mm-hmm. We are going as fast as we can while giving it the depth that we want to give it.
Yeah. We're all figuring this out together.
Couple of announcements. The big one is that after the Legacy Dungeons, that's where we've decided to space out our listener response guest episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So after this episode, we will have our first response episode. What that's going to consist of is guest segment or segments where we have a guest on, we talk to them about Elden Ring, things like that. And then your responses about what we have gone through. Mm-hmm. So we make this disclaimer all the time on the network, but we're not just looking for your page long Elden Ring review. We want to know what you think about Stormveil and Limgrave. That is the idea. Mm-hmm. So keep an eye out for that. We'll put that up on the Patreon.
Yeah, we'll put up the call for responses. Yes.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
We're still hammering down guest specifics. Mm-hmm. So we'll make that announcement when you have it.
Yeah.
But it should be good and fun.
Mm-hmm.
For now, let's break this big horny idiot over our knee and get into the castle.
Which is the big horny in it? Oh, Margit. Okay. Yeah. Literally horny as opposed to figuratively.
No. Yeah, I think Margit is refreshingly sexless as a boss. He's full of horns.
Yeah.
We talked about Margit a little bit when we bounced off of Margit, but Margit is guarding the entrance of the castle.
Yes.
We have to finally beat him. And now that we've gone and done the Weeping Peninsula and the like, we have some levels under our belt. It's a little bit more reasonable.
Yes. And we can get him out of the way. At least for now. Some of this, as we talk about kind of the lead into the fight, is going to be a refresher. Like we already talked about the fact that he shows up in a shimmer of golden light. We talked about what an omen is, right? Somebody who is just born with a particular, condition where they have horns and stuff growing out of them at odd places, right?
Yes. And depending on what kind of omen you are, what your socioeconomic strata is, you're treated differently.
Yes.
As an omen. So this omen, the fact that his horns are cut off and the fact that he's still like living, and as we're going to find out, this is a very important character. It's probably a little bit too early to reveal that he comes back.
Yes.
Because this game is all about alternate identities and people going incognito and the like. But this is an important person in this world, which is very impressive given that they are an omen.
Yes.
But they were born into that importance.
Yeah.
Here.
But he is here to stop us. He would leave us alone. He's not out hunting us. But he specifically, notes that we are tarnished, notes that we have this flame of ambition, and says that he must snuff it out.
The reason why he is here now guarding Stormveil, at least I think, is that he is shoring up Godrick. Because everybody knows Godrick's a shit. This person would know Godrick sucks. Very well, and he does not want you to succeed. Godrick's not going to do it on his own. I got to help him out.
Godrick is otherwise occupied.
Yeah. We didn't talk about last time the fight.
No.
And it's worth talking about the fight because as far as a first boss in a FromSoft game, this is wildly complex.
Yeah. Boy, Margit. So one of the axes on which a Dark Souls boss can be complex or simple or difficult or easy is think about what ranges they're effective at. Oftentimes the earliest bosses in a Souls game end up being not necessarily terribly effective at most ranges, right? There's a place where you can figure out how to goad them into the particular attack that will make them most vulnerable. Sometimes that changes over the fight. See the last giant fight in Dark Souls 2, where he rips off his own arm. It's as angry as one can be and uses that to extend his reach, right?
Well, you think that's as angry as one can be. But have you ever seen somebody angry enough to take off their own leg? It gets much angrier.
Well, no, the angriest one can be is to rip your own head off and throw it at the ground. But we've also seen in games. Yeah. But I mean, you're right. So Margit is effective at all ranges. Is part of Margit's thing. He's still baitable. You can still get him to get into vulnerable positions, but it's complicated by that effectiveness. The other thing that is very complicated about Margit is he's a real modular boss. Yeah.
The big thing I noticed is that his combos chain very unpredictably.
Yeah.
He does a lot of fake outs and he can add little, he's like a menu where at the bottom it's plus blank for bacon, plus blank for onions, plus it has a lot of ads.
Yeah.
You can do. There are a lot of features to every single one of his combos.
He can pull in grace notes to his attack if you think about it in like music notation, right? Like
yes.
This doesn't fall in the meter anywhere, but this is something that for expression can, be a follow-up that might get you to the next thing, right?
Yes. And he does it a lot. Does it more than any first boss has done. He's got a complexity to him that feels like a mid to late game Dark Souls 3 boss.
Yeah. Specifically,
he's not as hard.
The variety of moves. Yeah.
Yes. He has a lot of moves, a lot of small variations on existing moves. The other thing that he does that he really brings to the fore for an early boss are delayed hits.
Yeah.
And unusual timing. He has that comically, he'll hold the staff over his head and it is for a comically long time.
It's like he's goading you. He's like, just come in. This is an opening.
He turns into Don Flamenco, just daring you to attack. And the trick is the thing that got me through Margit, this is one of the bosses where I've soloed him because I wanted to, is realizing that a lot of times those are safe times to attack. You just attack and goad him and then get out of the way.
Yeah.
When he's holding that thing above his head, if you can attack and move if you're quick, if you have a fast enough weapon. It's really weird. It feels like he inverts, instead of you reacting to him, you make him react to you. And then get out of the way. And then the second phase, you wait for him to jump over you and then you can get in hits.
Yeah.
It becomes much more limited.
Yeah. Two things got me tripped up an awful lot in this, which are being psyched out by the tail So he has this big, almost like Resident Evil 5 boss style tail to him. It's like very tumor-like, that can be worked into combos and can be used as a weapon, but it is not deployed as often as you think, given how prominent it is on his model. So you can either be too cautious when it comes to like keeping an eye out for that, or you can forget about it entirely and then it gets slapped by it. Was a problem that I had. And we've talked about his, staff and the things that he can do with delayed hits on that. Another thing that early bosses in Souls games tend to do is they telegraph like Western Union.
Yes.
And the staff moves, yes, those will telegraph. Margit doesn't just have the one weapon. Margit has access to a whole stable of golden light-based weapons that he can just pull out and use with almost no notice that I could see.
Yeah, the animation, the weapon won't appear. The animation is still telegraphed. Like there's only a couple attacks, I think, with Margit that are tricky to dodge in terms of timing. Or in terms of like speed that they come out. Yeah. Right. Like even when he's using an invisible weapon, and usually I know he's about to use an invisible weapon, a couple of them are pretty quick.
Yeah.
The tricky thing is it's real simple. The tricky thing to me is that it literally changes the area that you're watching to being much smaller. Ordinarily I keep my eye on the weapon. Of a boss fight to know when they're swinging it. With Margit, you can't really do that because sometimes an animation that is just him reaching his arm across is going to end with conjuring a weapon.
Yeah. And, if you're up close trying to get him thinking, okay, I'm past his staff, right? Boom. No, here's a hammer to get you way up close. Yep. And you think, okay, I'm pretty far away. I might have enough time to, chug, to do healing. Boom. No, light dagger that he can throw at you and stagger you and then close the distance.
Yeah. He loves to punish that heal.
Yeah.
It's a thing where all of the allowances that you're expecting for an early boss are there. They're just in different spots.
Yes.
So, you don't make distance and heal, which is something you would do to an early boss in a previous game. You bait an attack, like you bait his overhead jump attack and then heal.
You heal in lieu of attacking at that time.
Yes. Yeah. There's still windows that are very wide open. You just have to find them. It's more about knowing where the windows are at than the how open the windows are.
Yeah.
I've come to really love this boss. I think this is a really good first boss. Like at first I was like, this is too hard for the first boss. After I figured out like it's saying go do Weeping Peninsula, like once you figure that out, I think this is actually a really good boss. Yeah. In this game. Like very fun to fight.
And as long as you've been upgrading your weapon, to what you have available to you, the level 2 stones or what have you, he doesn't necessarily have that much HP either. No. It can be pretty quick, especially if you learn how to do guard counters on him. Yeah.
Guard counters, and you can stagger him. Like if you're using a big charge weapon, the fact that his windows are wide open, when he does that overhead hammer slam in the second phase, that is your opportunity to charge up an R2. Yeah. And just a couple of those will set him into stagger mode.
And if that's not enough, if you think, okay, this is still way too hard, you have an out. You have something that you can do. You can go and talk to trusty Patches, untethered Patches, and buy his shackle, which makes this kind of into an echo of the what's his name? Gascoigne fight. There we go. I almost said Henrik, but that's a different hunter.
Different hunter. Yeah. No music. I mean, if there's a Henrik music box, we haven't heard it. You can probably put on Two Princes by Spin Doctors and Henrik will party, but you gotta find the item. It was cut content.
You think Gascoigne's partying when you play that music box? Is that what you think? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's just oh man, they're playing my jam. You get that song going, you get all the Gascoignes in the club. Very similar to that, you can only use it in the first phase. You can use it twice. At first, I thought there would be a good reason for Patches to have this. Now I think he just scavenged it.
Yeah.
He found it because he's training that little franchise of Patches, and they managed to get it. But it shackles him to the ground. You can use this twice in the first phase and gives you an opportunity to get a hit.
Yes.
Here. And at this point in the game, this is where we're getting a lot of our lore on omens. Only the most powerful omens have a shackle.
Yeah.
And we're going to find another shackle as well. It's not just the most powerful omens, it's also ones that were born into royalty.
Yeah.
Who are important omens.
It's basically anybody who you would want a failsafe against.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like the Xavier protocols for these guys. Great fight, really great presentation. And something that has aged really well for me in the game, which is a good feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like it is very common amongst Soulsborne fans to think something is bullshit and then decide they like it. I feel like a lot of people who are bigger fans of like Dark Souls 3 DLC and the like, or that fucking fire monkey from Sekiro, do that to like every boss. Like if a boss feels like bullshit, if they beat it, it then becomes good in their eyes. That doesn't happen for me. A lot of times I beat something, I'm like, that still is tuned bad. Margit, I actually really like.
Yeah.
I think he achieves his function. And he's a great character. Like knowing what we find out about him and everything. Like he's a really interesting character.
And he's a good character, and also like he's not a dick. Like he'll even say, like he will commend you if you get far enough on him. He'll say, well, thou art of passing skill. Warrior blood must truly run in thy veins, tarnished. Like he, is pulling a worthy opponent kind of thing on you. That's halfway through, and then when you beat him, he disappears in this flash of golden light, kind of saying like, "Oh, you've not seen the last of me, nor even the worst of me. I shall remember thee, tarnished. Cower in fear of the night. The hands of the fellowmen shall brook thee no quarter."
So this is really interesting. When I first beat him, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna stalk me, and I'm gonna run into him as a roaming boss." But you don't. I'm pretty sure this is just about the Knights Cavalry.
Yeah.
Live in the fear of the night, the fellowmen, it says they used to be agents of the fellowmen.
Yes.
There, but that's the only thing I can imagine this is referring to. Here. There is like a capital N kind of knight.
Yes.
Ending kind of thing that's happening, but I don't think that's what he's talking about.
No.
I think he's talking about, but I'm glad that happens instead of a roaming fight, even though there are ways to avoid this fight. For one, and this is not the last we've seen.
No.
Margit.
He can be sure that he will see us again because he knows the road that we're walking, and he can put himself upon it.
When he dies, you do not get his soul. They're called remembrances in this game. We haven't found one yet. You do get a pouch, so you can equip an additional talisman. Incredibly high value treasure. Really, really good. But a clue: the fact that he does not die.
Yes.
It's not an empty threat. He's back. And having beat him, now that he's no longer doing the backup, we get our first legacy dungeon.
Yes.
Here. And we make our way up to Stormveil Castle.
Yeah. His arena is the stairs up to the gate. And I love the checkpoint that shows up because every time a boss dies, you need to have the checkpoint. It creates the 3 most ridiculously spaced checkpoints in the game.
Yes.
Because there's one right before this, there's this one, and then there's one right after this at the base of the gate.
Yeah. Dragon Slayer armor vibes.
Yeah.
The visual impression that Stormveil gives is really pretty striking.
Yes.
So paying attention to it, it is very grandiose. There are still signs in and without of majesty to this castle. But it, like so many things in these games, is being corrupted. There are gigantic holes in it that at first seem like they are like cannon fire.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But in fact, we're going to find out it is this Deathroot adjacent corruption.
Yeah.
That is happening here. This plant kind of corruption that's happening.
Yes. What's important to me anyway in this is that from this angle you can't see any of that. Like all that you can see from the approach up and from the front gate is the dark stone and kind of the gold inlay and all of that. All of that pockmarking, all of that holing is on the seaward side. Or as you get up close and kind of under the gates. From the front, it doesn't appear to be corrupted and falling apart.
Well, it doesn't from the bottom of the hill. Like once you get up close, you can see it.
Yeah.
even from the front. Like it's up under, like past the little kind of gate zone, but it is on the front. At first I thought it was just on the seaward side, and I didn't know what it was, because what it was is pretty hidden, which we'll talk about. I thought it was signs of battle from the sea, which made sense to me once I found out, and we don't know tons about this, but it's worth talking about in the source book. Goal of this is that Stormveil was another subjugated people from the Golden Order. There used to be a Storm Lord, and this used to be its own free lands before Lindell and the Golden Order took it over.
Right.
We don't know a whole lot about that culture.
No.
We know that they loved birds. They left a bunch of their birds, which were repurposed, which we'll get to. And we know that it was taken over solely by Godfrey the Golden.
Yeah.
Did it on his own.
Yeah. And similar to the way that, what was it? Down the Weeping Peninsula, Castle Morn, it was subjugated, but like all of their kind of culture and their heraldry was just appropriated. Like that was kept around. The worship of storms and stuff like that. The heraldry of the hawks and stuff. Yeah. So when I make that point, like, oh, you can only see it from the side, that's more to say, like, from a distance, like this first impression is one of grandiosity, but as you get up close, you see that it is rotten. I think that transition is pretty important. Of realizing that, as you get up closer, it is crumbling in a very particular way.
It's not just that it's a thing that you don't see until you get close. There are two things that exist at the same time.
Yeah.
It is simultaneously rotting, but also grandiose, which is like a great combination. There's still this opulence to some of the indoor spaces.
Yeah.
Here, that you get that sense of clinging on to, like moving into a fancy house and not maintaining it.
Yeah. Just thinking that the dignity associated with these trappings is more durable than it is.
Yeah. Or it comes with the trappings. It doesn't actually require character from the caretaker.
Yeah. It's a real Fisher Kingdom kind of thing, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Something I also think is kind of important that's worth talking about is when you get here, the gate is closed. It is, and you have a choice initially when you go in here. I was thinking about these. I have mixed feelings about these.
Okay.
Do you remember when, for Watch Out for Fireballs, we covered Deus Ex Invisible War?
That game made me feel nothing. I remember absolutely nothing about it.
So a big thing in Invisible War is you get to an area and there are multiple paths through it. But because of the type of game it is, you're highly incentivized to explore all of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you get a choice of paths, but you're going to backtrack through both of them anyway.
Yeah.
That's what this does as well. Like, it's an interesting, I think what they're trying to do here is signal that, this is going to be nonlinear and that there are multiple ways to get through this dungeon and multiple dungeons and multiple situations here. I also think that kind of doesn't matter, at least to my play style, because I'm not just trying to get to the other side of it. I want to see all the stuff that's in it. So the fact that you can take this like secret route, which is not secret and also is very, very heavily guarded, or a more direct route that's a little bit more heavily guarded, does not feel like a real choice to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to kill everybody here and take all the stuff.
I wonder if it's entirely just meant for people who are on subsequent playthroughs, who want to dispense with the first part of this dungeon, which is getting in through the walls. And just, okay, I'm going to get in here. I am going to try and face the ballista and just run across the courtyard and get past, get right to Godrick, as opposed to being, working, you're not just your way through the walls, but up to the top and then down to the courtyard. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it functions as such. Like it's a lot easier if you take the long route, not just because easier in that you unlock an NPC that you can summon for the fight, but it's much quicker, and it's not actually that hard to just force your way through if you know where you're going.
Right.
So I think that it does accomplish that thing. It ends up feeling a little like a false choice to me.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I love this dungeon. Like I love everything about exploring it. I just feel like this beginning choice is a little weird.
Yeah.
For it.
I like what it does. You know, so it's a choice. It's a person giving it to you. It's this commoner named Gatekeeper Gastok, who does give you the choice. Like, he could open the gate for you, but he really is encouraging you to take the stealthy way, take the long, easier way. And
it's not that much easier. It's much longer.
Yeah.
It's also really guarded.
Yeah. But he's trying to say, like, oh, things aren't going to go that well if you go in through the front gate. I would recommend going through this hole, leaving this gate business alone. I think that is meant to kind of make it a little bit we know not to trust people in these games because we've played them before, but to make his inevitable betrayal stick out because you did have to choose to step into his trap, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit. It makes you a little complicit.
Yeah.
To it. It ends up making. I have no idea why they opened the gate for you within the story.
Yeah.
You know, like the idea that I understand Gastok. So he's this tall guy. He's got the stockade around his neck. We're going to see other copies of this guy as just enemies.
Yes.
They're called commoners. I understand his motivation because if you choose his path, which takes us through the body of the dungeon, which is like how we're going to talk about it. He is tricksy. We're going to talk about this. He does some shit to you. But if you say, no, I'm just going to go through the gate, he goes, okay. And then he just says, hey, open the gate. And they just do it.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what their motivation is to open the gate.
Yeah.
There. I understand that Godrick is hunting Tarnished.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to rip off your limbs.
Yes.
And stuff. I just don't know why they don't send somebody out to do that or like close the gate behind you. Or it's weird when characters in these games have a motivation and act to change the world in a way that has thought behind it that isn't like them being hollow.
Yeah.
Because it underlines all the times where they don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, this feels a little weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I have no idea. I've not put any thought into what his motivation might be, or like why he would open the gate for you, other than like, well, I'm going to rob you anyway, so either we draw it out over several times, or I take it the one time. Yeah,
I would have if he had acted threatened by you.
Yes,
I could understand it being then like you do it because but he gives you this choice, as we mentioned. And he's strongly encouraging you to go the slow way for reasons that are, we can basically talk about now. There's one specific trap, but it's kind of sprinkled throughout. Gostic is real tricky. What he's going to do is when you die in this castle, he's going to steal your souls while they're still on your body.
Yep.
Before you can get to them. He does attacks.
He does. It's a death tax. And it like this was to the point, like I didn't notice that something was wrong until I died with a whole bunch of souls, and he takes them by percentage. Right. And so I picked it up, and, I had never thought to consider, like to check the totals. And when I saw that the total that I recovered was less than I died with, I thought, wait a minute, is that a new mechanic in Elden Ring? Because I never noticed that, like maybe at small totals. I was like, I wonder how I feel about that decision. And then when I realized that that it was him, it was like, oh, that is a real dick move. I love it.
I think it's 30%.
Yeah.
It's very significant. And something I'll cop to never noticing in the game, I just know this from seeing other people notice it, is that you can spot him doing this.
What?
He's not in the action, but he's in the background watching you from distances.
He does the G-Man thing?
Say what?
He does the G-Man thing?
He does the G-Man thing, except because it's not Half-Life, you can walk up to him.
Oh.
When he's doing this. And if you do it, he plays it off. He's like, oh, I'm really glad I ran into you. And he gives you a Mimic's Veil. We find our first one of those in this castle. And that's a really interesting item in terms of lore as it applies to Godrick. But yeah, he's creepy watching, or not. He's G-manning you. He's watching he's Gontro dimming you.
Yeah.
From the background at multiple different places in the dungeon. Again, I've never noticed it. I've just seen it online.
Yeah. Huh. No, never noticed that. I know that if you kill him, the death tax stops, but.
Well, and you get all the souls he stole back.
Yep.
There's an advantage to not killing him, which is esoteric and irritating, which we'll talk about. It has some real adventure game logic.
Huh. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So he becomes a merchant.
Yes.
If you don't kill him, he gets a somber or an ancient dragon smithing stone.
Oh no, he gets the plus 10
inventory.
Oh shit. Yeah.
No, he doesn't get it. He can sell you one.
Yeah.
And it just appears in his inventory, but it's after you do Kenneth Height.
Yes.
And you do that entire quest.
And those are, exceedingly rare. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also an end game quest. Like you have to keep him alive for the entire game. And then he just magically gets something in his inventory.
Weird.
At the end. It's super weird.
Yeah. I don't care for that.
It's not a bad idea just to murder this guy. On replays, I'm going to do it because I have enough of those stones and I don't want to wait for it.
No. Yeah. But if you say like, oh yes, I will take the big hole in the wall, he says, you're just my kind of tarnished. So
yep.
Giving you sketch vibes at the start.
Yeah. It's kind of gross. He also has a new kind of Dark Souls NPC laugh. I was like, he kind of does that.
Does a Muttley?
Does that kind of, yeah, he does a Muttley. He laughs exactly like Muttley. So we take our path, on the outside. Again, you don't have to, but I think it's the intended route through the dungeon.
Yeah.
That kind of goes through these crumbling cliffs, and you can really see the damage.
Yeah.
To the castle here. And you can see Godrick's, we're just going to recycle everything that was in this castle, including birds.
Yeah. Recycle your birds, folks. It's just the conscientious thing to do.
Yeah. We meet these warhawks. These are birds. Their wings are chained, are kind of damaged, and their feet have been removed, and they have had the description that you can find for the spirit of this explicitly calls this grafting. They have grafted these blades onto their feet. So like I'm scared of hawks, but a hawk with swords for feet is way scarier.
Oh yeah.
And and these things are really fucking annoying.
Oh boy.
They're really tough.
They're durable. It takes a couple of different flybys for you to get enough attacks in on them. And this isn't the only variety. Later on, they get the ability to pick up exploding barrels and throw them at you.
Yeah, they get little hooks on their feet. Little gyromites. They're the idea of these birds. So like this was taken over. This castle was taken over, and this fucker came in and was just like, I'm going to put swords on their feet, and leave them here and like fuck with their wings so they can't fly away.
And it's like,
it's so evil.
Hey dude, hawks are already flying knives, so
yeah,
they're already so sharp.
Extra knives,
yeah.
Really, if you don't have a ranged option, these things are a huge pain in the ass to fight.
Yeah.
But the gameplay thing I think that this does is encourage you to have a ranged option.
Yeah.
For you.
Also, just adding another thing for you to try to be situationally aware of, or aware that threats can come from that axis.
Yeah. It's these enemies work in this game in a way they wouldn't work in other games because this game has wildlife. If there weren't just birds about that aren't hostile, having hostile birds in here wouldn't be as powerful.
Agreed.
So this first one you see just like perched on a tree ends up blending into the background and can actually ambush you really well.
Yeah. Yeah. But these things, they're native to this place. They came with the territory, and were the emblems of these warriors, specifically the emblems of people who were sent out afar,
Yeah. They're also on the shields, the kind of whatever you would call those things, balustrades. Is that what it is? Those they're the little portable shields that they set up on the ground in the courtyard.
Yeah,
they're the birds. We get to the seaside here, making our way around the wall. You can see the Chapel of Anticipation where the game begin. I did not recognize it and spent a lot of the game being like, how do I get back there?
Same.
Just like, man, there's got to be a way. Because, but that's what it is. And we can kind of see this is where, again, the castle's in really rough shape. There are these weird brambles here. We can find there are a couple of bad shields here that also have brambles, but provide interesting lore.
Yeah.
Where they talk about how the shield is modeled the same way that the castle is.
Yes.
And we're being introduced to a kind of a theme of this area, which is false information.
Yeah.
Or multiple accounts. They talk about like, some people say this is because Godrick was cursed because grafting is so horrible. But others say there's something sinister hidden deep within the castle. It's the second one.
Yep.
But this is one of those things where the narrator of the item descriptions is an unreliable narrator. And there are multiple unreliable narrators. The kid Rogier, who we saw, we could summon him for what's his head? Margit. We're going to meet him later.
Yeah.
And he is From's big middle finger to Gary and Cole and Vati and, everybody, all these lore people who think they figured it out.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like, fuck you for thinking you figure this out. That I read about this.
Yeah. We're going to give you the Bane special for thinking you got this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. But I do like that ambiguity that is built in. Even just, the some say, like, it would make sense why people would think why grafting would be the case here, right? Like,
yeah, it's immensely unpopular.
Yeah, it's like it involves hunting people down. It's grotesque on its face, right?
Can you imagine the government still doing something that is immensely unpopular with most of the population?
I think that the people wouldn't let it stand.
Yeah. Seems very strange.
Yeah.
What a fantastical world that everybody hates something and yet.
Yeah. And yet it keeps going on. Yeah. Trenchant.
Yeah. This way up when you start going on these kind of the scaffolding here, this is just as guarded as the intro. Like there aren't just turrets literally pointing at it, but there's a bugle boy on patrol here who will bugle blow and alert everybody.
Yeah.
That you're coming. These guys called exile soldiers, who are these thin, kind of cadaverous, tall guys who are also covered in these thorns.
Yeah. Yeah. Either, being here, kind of because it's the only place they can go, has made the corruption that is taking over the place start taking them over as well. These brambles, thorns, the heresy associated with that. But yeah,
there are variants of these guys. When you get into the inside the wall, there's a big axe one version of it who feels almost exactly like the big axe guys from the from High Wall of Lothric from Dark Souls 3. Like I feel like we've seen this guy, 100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff is pretty classic from Soft castle design.
Yeah,
it's my favorite in the business, so I'm not complaining. But like, you do end up with, hey, here's a bunch of flammable barrels, and there's a guy up atop holding a firebomb waiting for you to step into it.
It's like, oh, you guys are up to your tricks again. Oh, yes. never change. Yeah. I like that they turn the inside of the walls because, like, yeah, there's going to be space inside there. It's not just a layer of bricks. That's not a fortification. They actually use that space as it would be used. So like there's storage down here. It's dark, enemies are going to like jump around this, and kind of chase you around. You can break that down and get a direct line on them. Just a whole bunch of stuff like that. Like just using all of the space that is available to them makes this a really good introductory dungeon. Real big 1-1 vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. I get a lot of Demon Souls vibes from a lot of the castles.
Yes.
In this game, partly because castle is the most common dungeon.
Oh yeah,
and that's. But I love castles. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Up at the top, we can't go forward. There's a door that's locked, and we go up a level. We continue forward, and there's an open door that goes into a dark storage room. when you go inside, we get a little cutscene of the door locking behind you, and Gastock's Muttley laugh, or Gastock's Muttley laugh, because we're locked in here with the equivalent of like a Silver Knight.
Yeah.
Style encounter here. These Banished Knights.
Yeah, this is the first one of these that we've seen. These are the heavies for this dungeon. And as you are scrambling to try and get your torch out, he is going to come up and chop you in half, most likely. He has a huge greatsword, has a great shield, really tough to get an angle on him. And the fact that he gets the drop on you and there's no way to run from him makes this a very good trap. Well played, Gastock.
Yeah. Yep. And you can go, and if you yell at him, he doesn't cop to it like Patches would. He just says, "I'm so glad you found me. Here, have a Mimic Veil." It's useless. We were talking about Mimic Veils and how they contribute to the lore. The description of this talks about how during the Shattering, Godrick the Grafted used it to hid among the women folk. Mm-hmm. In there, it's one of the great treasures he took during that time. And then later it talked about, or Kenneth Haidt said, how he hid among the women folk.
Yeah.
So the idea being that Godrick the Grafted used this item to disguise himself as a peasant.
Yeah.
To avoid going down, in the war.
Yeah. Which is a shit thing to do. Not very lordly behavior. As he made his escape and didn't quite face what was coming to him from the others. You get this, he was a shit well before he started grafting out here. Yes. Once he got his own little fiefdom, right? And this is also known as Marika's mischief.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love all those little hints that maybe the all-powerful benevolent God isn't good.
Yep.
They give it to you with the class thing where it's like the church confessors are spies and assassins that are sent. But then just having this Marika's mischief as this very good. It's worth noting that I can't remember which item it's on, but Godrick at some point was not an absolute shit heel. Mm-hmm. There's like one war he performed well in.
Yeah.
I think it might be the Giants versus, it was either Dragons or Giants. I can't remember, but he did pretty well.
Yeah.
And, he was always had this kind of diluted blood that makes him shitty in the cosmology of this world, but he wasn't always like a coward and shit heel.
Yeah. Well, he's Godwin's son, so he was never going to live up to the 100% beloved, reputation of his dad as well.
The idea that he at one point was good makes me wonder if getting, constantly being called like the runt of the litter and having, this thin blood and being compared to his father as like a distant relation, did that damage.
He's one of the only people whose parentage we don't actually know. Like we know it's Godwin, but like his mom is not in the picture, not alluded to, at least that I've seen,
Yeah, we know it's a distant relation, so we know it's not a direct relation. That's all we have.
Yeah.
And I don't, call me crazy, but I don't believe in the kind of, eugenic bloodlines determine the quality of a person.
It's brave of you to come out and say that.
I figured I got my notes out ready, and I'm here to say. So, I agree that like Godrick sucks. I don't think it's because he's, doesn't have the blood, right? We don't get enough, but I can almost see like a tragic story in Godrick where, knowing that he performed well at one point and took this over, it just like everyone just talking shit about him constantly, and that making him turn to grafting. And then everyone's like, no, not that, man. That's not what we wanted.
Well, it could also be like acquitting yourself in the War of the Giants might be a little bit like being the high school quarterback, first string,
Sure.
Like not a guarantee of future success too.
Yeah. He might be a John Darnielle song. Peaked in high school, caught selling acid, doing adult time now. When you make your way further up, once you beat this knight, you get the key for the door you're just locked in, and the key for the next, that locked door we passed, and we can make our way further up.
Yeah.
to a part of the castle, which is not just storage. Like people live and work here.
Yeah, it's a little bit more finished. Their fireplaces and such. They bother heating it. The main entry point is this tower that runs all the way up and down. There's an elevator shaft in the middle. We're not going to get to that elevator for a while, but we got another one of these banished knights here with his halberd, just kind of pacing around, kind of just waiting. And boy, was I stealthy the first time I approached this, and that works.
The weapon these guys use really matters because weapon arts are not only good now for the player, they're good for the enemy as well.
Yeah.
Him having that halberd means he has a very different moveset than other banished knights will meet. And it's a really clever little bit of design to add your enemy variety by making that a universal feature, making them play by the same rules.
Yeah.
This guy's real hard. Like when I play these games, I kill everybody the first time. Like I before I allow myself to loot, I kill everyone because I want to explore. I want to look at the stuff close up without having to worry about things.
Yeah.
I had to basically like lead this guy back down into the wall. He kept fucking me with his weapon art. At this, it was not a pretty fight.
That halberd's weapon art is a spin, right?
Yes. Yeah. He makes himself a little tornado.
Yeah.
He can also charge with it, both of which do a lot of damage, or did a lot of damage to me at the time.
Yeah, pretty rough. But you can go up above the level that he's on, and there are a couple of different ways you can go. One way here, like there's a room off of this tower that will give you a grace. It's worth going up to the roof just because it's just an exploration point. There really isn't a lot of way forward up there. But if you go up there, you get some of these exile knights kind of going around like little guys on the ramparts and on the ceiling tops, and you can just kind of like work your way around on the cathedral roofs and around the towers to like get up to this very kind of the tallest tower in the castle, where a whole bunch of these warhawks, well, not the warhawks themselves, but the actual hawks, the pre-war hawks. Are roosting. They haven't been warified, and you can grab this talisman that'll be good for you if you use claw weapons. This is the claw talisman. Yeah, there's kind of, you can make your way further into the dungeon going this way as well. It's another branch point. Like you basically can go birds or roofs. Yeah, here. The area with the exile soldiers where they're all just kind of lounging around waiting to bugle boy it up. There are tons of hidden things if you start jumping on roofs that way, but you're missing the hidden things if you go the bird route. That you can go through here. So like, again, it's very similar to that first choice where it is technically a choice, but at least on my first playthrough, when I want to see everything, I'm just going to double back and do both. It's what lends itself to like the density of these dungeons for me. Is that they're not hallways, they're spaghettis. Yeah, so I think I will think that I have found another path, but what I've actually done is walked one of the alternate paths backwards and gotten back to an earlier point. Which can sometimes feel really good, and sometimes you'll unlock a shortcut. Doing that. These knights that the Claw Talisman talks about these Raven Mount assassins here who dress up as birds. We don't find out a lot about these. We don't find, like, Raven Mount is not an area we'll visit later or anything that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But we do end up having an invasion by one of these guys at some point, these assassins. Their armor rules. They look a little bit like, the Death Knight guys from the Grave Lords from Dark Souls 1. And I said this was claw weapons. No, this is good for jump attacks if you work those in.
So we continue to head up on top of these courtyard walls here in the Hawk Zone, taking the Hawk path as opposed to the cathedral walking path that we drop down to. And this introduces us to the Hawks that have little hooks. They pick up barrels and throw them at you.
It's so unexpected.
It's very funny. It feels like they're on loan from like Donkey Kong Jr. or something.
A little bit, yeah.
Like the idea that they run and they drop barrels on you. It's just very cute.
It'll get you. It got me once because I was like, wait, is it really? Wait, is that a red barrel? Oh no. Yeah. It's like the first time you see that YouTube video of the eagle killing the goat by picking it up and dropping it off a mountain.
Yeah. Holy crap. It's like such a scary thing.
Wait, they can do that?
Like, yeah. God, it's learning. And these are very specifically trained.
Yeah.
You know, and against their will. These hooks and stuff have been grafted.
Yeah.
They're not happy birds.
No.
Yeah.
There's also just this variant's kind of pointless. The ones with the helmets on that'll do like little spear thrusts. It's kind of gilding the lily. It's hat on a hat because they've already got sword feet.
It's because it's cute.
You don't say, huh?
Yeah, they get little hats.
They get little hats. The little hats are cute.
I don't want to get this far into our relationship to find out you're not into hats on animals. I don't know. I imagine, can you imagine though, like Godrick is not giving good and direct and cogent orders, right?
No. Yeah.
Like I imagine he's just like, make these birds scarier and then just leaves and fucks off to go sew things to himself.
Yeah.
And you have to just be like, you know, you look over at the other guy who's working in the bird factory and just like, helmets, swords. What do we have around here?
We've got some extra swords here. So
yeah. I mean, this helmet, like, this seems good. I don't know. Fuck, man.
Call him Poochie or something. I don't care.
Yeah, it's very similar. Like, I can't imagine the person in charge of this choice has a lot of resources at their disposal. Unionize. Stormveil.
So many problems can be solved.
If you head past these guys, you can drop down and there is a fucking Crucible Knight.
Yeah.
Down here.
This is super hidden. I've talked to people and seen people who didn't even know that one of these was just hanging around. You've got to jump over like a very specific wall and fall to what appears like it's going to be a ledge that you can stand on, but it just breaks under you. You fall a huge distance. The only reason you can survive is because you fall into tall grass.
There are places in this game where you survive.
Yeah.
You know, kind of regardless. They're just coded as such. This is if you want to do one of the hardest fights you can do at this point in the game for 2,000 souls. Here you go.
For 2,000 souls and a spell.
Thingies.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get a not great spell.
Yeah.
From it.
But there's lots of tall grass here. This was fun the first time because I realized, okay, I'm outmatched. My attacks are not doing anything to it. Oh, right, there's tall grass. I can just sneak by them. And it's nice and tense. And this is how you get to the bottom of that elevator that goes up the tower.
Yeah. Yep. Little shortcut so you can come back when you want to fight this guy.
Yeah.
Down on the ground, there's a chapel. There's a little banished knight and a little torch-bearing guy following them around. They're doing laps. You can sneak by them or fight them to get into the chapel. And we're going to meet an NPC that we've summoned before.
Yes.
Sorcerer Rogier. I really like this because I thought it was just going to be one of the Dark Souls 2 style summoning a rando. Guys, when you summoned him, I didn't think he was going to be a guy.
Didn't think he was going to be like a major and have a pretty good story to him.
Yeah, and be a gigantic middle finger to me specifically, which I didn't expect him to be a huge fuck you to people who made a cottage career out of lore diving these games.
I'm fine with From being hostile to me. That's okay.
Oh, me too. I just didn't expect it. And I don't think it's explicit. I don't know how much of it is explicitly that. It's hard for me not to see the intent behind them making a character in game whose purpose is to be wrong about the game's lore.
Yes. But he's so earnest is the thing. He's
a great guy.
He feels it.
I love it.
No.
Yeah.
We should say we're not on the ground. We're kind of like in this middle level of the walls here. The ground would be the courtyard, just so people, if they're doing a mental map, don't get confused. But yeah,
the ground from the wall we were standing on.
Yes. Yeah. But Rogier, he's from the academy. He is wearing a big ol' hat, like Big Hat Logan. So immediately is kind of coded to be our wizard type if you play the previous games. And like we said, he's just a real solid guy.
Yeah, he's great. I love him.
Yeah.
He has a real sad story, like what's going to happen to him, and it's happening now.
Yep.
Him being here is what's spelling his doom.
Yes.
He's looking for a secret that is around here. He doesn't specify what it is, but he infers that you're here hunting Godrick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, like that. Hey, that's great. Just be careful. He's been chasing tarnished around. I bet you can see that guidance of grace, right? And you say yes. He's like, oh, you should enjoy it. I used to be able to, but I can't anymore.
Still, I won't forget how it felt when I first came here to the lands between. He really is nostalgic for it. He wishes, kind of wishes he still believed a little bit.
Mm-hmm. He is a merchant here and elsewhere, specifically selling sorceress ashes of war.
Yeah.
I didn't find tons of use in these.
I didn't play a pure caster was the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, it felt like they felt weird to me. And the weapons that I was using as a sorcerer all had bespoke.
Yes.
Ashes of war. Throwing a magic missile onto them didn't seem useful to me when I was like doing cool Night and Flame shit. Things like that.
And I couldn't see if I was a pure melee putting these on and making it into, because like he sells the carrion greatsword, right? Like any of those ones, which are actual spells that you can cast. But like that is, so if you are a pure caster, for a move, like for a swipe, turns your wand, turns your focus into a more effective weapon, right? Having that on a physical weapon that you can like wield around makes very little sense unless you are wielding a dagger and you want to like momentarily turn it into a great sword, right?
Yeah. Or if you want to do magic damage because the thing is physical resistant. I can imagine these being useful for the miners.
Yes.
If you're playing a pure physical build, but I don't know. I played a mostly pure physical build and was fine. Yeah. Just powering through.
And those miners can be, all you have to do is do blunt damage to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or hit them with a firebomb or just get through there, just fight them. It's all fine.
Yeah.
When you ask him about these weapon arts, he talks about how they were created at Raya Lucaria there. These laws that were there once contravened the Golden Order. And he talks about, he says, like, fascinating, isn't it? The Golden Order was pliable enough to absorb practices that contradicted itself in the past. With the order broken, twisted, in need of repair, such adaptability is more important than ever. The idea of the Golden Order being rigid and not being inclusive of these things is like a sub theme of this game.
Yeah.
The alternatives presented to the Golden Order tend to be much more adaptable.
Yes. And it's a little bit like it comes across almost like a hypocrisy on the Golden Order's part. Insofar as it acts like it is more dogmatic than it is. It was pliable. It was able to take in the Raya Lucaria Academy, not necessarily because of any like doctrinal reason. It was literally a marriage of convenience.
Yeah. Yep. Which we'll find out later. And like everything Elden Ring, even Raya Lucaria, that area is not a monolith,
right?
Because there's a sub-faction within that with the Carrions. That is the complexity that Elden Ring trucks in.
Yes. Yeah. This chapel that he is in is real strange. I have no idea when it was made because it seems to be depicting the actual like pact that is ruining the physical state of the castle itself. This is not a statue of Marika. It is not that strange arc crucified kind of thing that you see in Marika statues. Instead, like the central figure is somebody standing in the middle of this brambling, kind of these brambling flowering roots like coming up at them, and flanked by similar figures that are holding the branched roots like swords at attention. Instead of swords, it is these roots leading down. Who built this and to who? Yeah.
A great question. Just, assuming that the roots are good because they're happening when, and it's worth noting that like by the time we find out what this is, like what's kind of doing this, there aren't very many people who know.
No.
It's not like it's common knowledge. So like, again, I think back to those people who were charged with making birds scarier. Just, Godrick just being like, figure out what's fucking holy. I'm going to go steal things to myself. Yeah. And then, Just like,
Just
the thorns.
Just fuck it. Cast that statue, baby.
Seems good. It is really weird when you find out what they were, even in either explanation. Like if it was a curse brought on by grafting, or if it was the death root adjacent secret in the basement. Real weird. Don't gotta hand it to them.
It's all bad is the thing. It's just different shades of bad. So we can leave this chapel, strange though it may be, and head down. And if we're on this wall path, everything is going to lead to these, again, more decorated chambers, some living quarters here. Like you go through like a little scholar's room, where like scribe desks have been. And when you step through and get into this larger chamber, we see our old friend. And by old friend, I mean that thing that killed us a few hours ago. We see another grafted scion.
Yeah. And he's down on the floor below us, as kind of a mini boss, this fella. And he's not the most important thing about the room.
Nope.
This room that he's in has extra limbs hanging, drying like garlands of garlic.
Yeah.
On the ceiling. This is very specifically right next to the kitchen when we get down there. And there are tables with food and things in that room.
Yeah.
It is not just, it's an operating room because this is where they keep the arms. It's also where they eat and make food.
I mean, I don't think that this is an especially delicate surgery that they're doing. So it makes sense to combine these purposes because both require knives.
There's definitely that, like a little bit of like, barbers do the bloodletting. I also think that, they're eating stuff they can't use.
Yeah, no.
We run into cannibalism ends up becoming a thing that happens in this game, specifically with characters who are afflicted. So we know that they're without destined death. There are characters who are basically, they're not hollow. There's not that verbiage in this, but not everybody is of sound mind in this. Yeah. And later we will run into people who are frenzied flame who are explicitly eating their companions.
We talked about Revenger. Revenger.
Yes.
Yeah, the castle warden guy. Yeah.
Finding people. This is the first time we found people who are not frenzied flame doing things that are sure as fuck look like cannibalism.
Yeah.
And it's weird because we know what they do. With the arms, but it not being the only thing they do lends a little extra credence to the terror of this.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's bad enough to just do grafting, like grafting sucks. But the reputation this castle has and the surrounding, the fact that they're eating the people as well probably adds to it.
I mean, if you're looking to keep a population under control, saying, hey, if you, eat them, would be one of them. I'm not saying it's a good long-term strategy, but if you want to get a reputation, eating a dude would probably make people think twice about messing with you.
That's how I keep the population of Fig Newtons under control. At my house.
Yeah. keep the Nutrigain bars in line.
Some of which I graft, some of which I eat.
Yep. I like how it's not just limbs. Well, it is limbs that are hanging here, but it is not just lone limbs. Some limbs have been grafted onto each other. So it's like arms that are like chain grafted, like probably maybe to keep each other alive in some way. I have no idea, but the fact that there are just some of them that are attached to each other, it's really great. Yeah, like you would be keeping a sapling alive by grafting it for a certain time. Yep.
It's also, these people had to learn how to do this somewhere.
True.
And the idea that this being the practice zone, like, the equivalent of people tattooing onto cantaloupes, and then eating the cantaloupe when it doesn't work out, makes a kind of sense. When you pass through here, we get to see that we've seen this before, evidence of this from the grafted scion. If we got a good look, the grafted scion has bird parts as well. Yeah. Wing clippings from these very hawks. We also find a troll hanging upside down.
Yeah.
Over this pile of body bags. The troll has also been harvested.
Yeah. No, he's missing his left arm and his left leg.
Yeah. And we get to see where troll parts go to. They're on Godrick. Godrick has some of these.
It's one of the ways that he gets big.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, this thing is just hung upside down over this pile of body bags, the chrysalids, right? The little cocoons. This is where you can, get on top of this. If you can fight the dogs off, the dogs are going to get their meal too. If you can fight them off, you can get the chrysalids memento. This is what you take back to Roderica in order to advance her quest and to get her to go to Round Table Hold.
Yeah. And basically convince her she has the shinning or whatever. Lets her commune with these spirits. Right before, as we continue through, there's a council room that we're going to get to. Before that, there is a banished knight. It's kind of walking in circles with a halberd. And inside here, there are chairs on this podium overlooking this conference table. This is like a war planning room almost.
Yeah.
Within the chest here is the Mimic's Veil we find via treasure.
Yes.
We can get one from Godrick before this, but here's one we find. A really low value treasure for how much ceremony it's given.
Yeah.
In terms of efficacy. Who gives a shit? If you're playing, there's so little multiplayer in this game. Even if you're playing multiplayer, this doesn't seem that useful. It's definitely, there's no use for it single player.
Yeah.
Real weird to find in a chest.
Yeah. Strange thing to see put kind of like literally up on a pedestal. Although it's very important to Godrick, right? If it wasn't for this, it would have, he would have died in the capital, Yeah.
This could be his dollar in a frame.
Yeah, his dollar in a frame or part of his escape plan. Though one of his escape plans is down in a cellar. We'll find it.
I was just thinking his dollar in a frame, if he started gluing dimes to a dollar, that's grafting. And a dollar with a dime glued to it is worth $1.10.
It is.
It does add value to it. You could just using glue and coins, you can do a lot of grafting on your own.
You know that Moneyball is just a different kind of lottery. It's not like okay. It's not just literally okay.
Here's a $1.65 note.
Fuck Powerball. It's not Moneyball's a movie. God damn it.
Moneyball's a movie. It's not just it's not just a ball of money.
It's not just money, all wadded up.
The ball. Yeah. Was that movie about the ball?
Yeah, it's about that big ball made of money.
Yeah. Huh. They finally made that, huh?
Oh my God.
You work your way down here to that kitchen where they're grafting and eating, cutting, chopping and hopping into the grafted scion room where you can fight him.
Yeah.
This is very satisfying vengeance. He has the same moveset as far as I can tell, at least in the times I've fought him. He didn't pull out anything. If he can do some kind of real weird, rare grab attack, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'm just very powerful now. So it's really empowering to refight the tutorial boss here.
Yeah. And even if you are not up to doing it close up, the fact that you are not in this boss arena, you are just in this place that has multiple vantage points. You are able to get a distance from him or attack him from above. This guy has no ranged protection and has no way to punish you for doing ranged at him. So goes down very easily.
Yeah. Inside this kitchen / grafting room, there's a huge portrait of Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, and Sarash, his lion companion cape.
Yeah.
Chain shackle.
Just kind of always sticking out of his shoulder like venom.
Yes. We won't find out what this is for a long time.
Right.
What's interesting is that in looking at early lore discussion around this, a lot of people were like, oh, Godrick used to be really awesome. And I think that's the reason why this is here.
Yeah.
In part, is to draw that connection. This is here specifically to contrast to Godrick when we see him.
Oh, yeah.
And him just being like, nobody forget, I'm related to King Shit.
Oh, yeah. To literally the first Elden Lord. Yeah.
Yeah. It was when I first came here, before I knew really, I knew, because of Godfrey in the intro, but for a minute, that was my take too. Godrick's really fallen from grace.
Yeah.
He used to be really cool. No, it's a different guy, because this game is constantly about guys who look the same and guys who are actually other guys and secret identities and shit.
No, this is him, rolling up to a college bar and trying to pick up chicks by saying his dad owned a dealership. Or his grandpa owned a dealership. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Dr. Venture trying to get Dean in as a legacy.
Yeah, but this gigantic portrait just trying to draft off of his grandpa's greatness.
Past here, we get another shortcut elevator and an imp door that goes into an armory. This is worth getting into. Mm-hmm. You'll get a wooden shield that you don't want, but you'll also get the misery cord, which is a dagger used by the military physicians in white. Mm-hmm. It talks about mercy. Medicine is mercy, and mercy on the battlefield is ruthless. Beware the killers clothed as men of compassion. This is Var.
Yeah.
Var is one of those guys.
He's one of those.
This is your
dudes.
first hint that guy's no good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, associated with the perfumers. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is we're not going to meet a lot of them down here. That particular art of battle didn't get very far from the capital, but it is pretty noxious, let's say. Yeah,
it's related to those, but also like when you get Var's outfit, mm-hmm. they talk about how he is a a military physician.
Yeah, battlefield surgeon kind of guy.
Yeah. There's also down here one of the whetstones.
Is it
that you get?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's because I'm doing New Game Plus. I didn't see that for the notes. Apologies.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Hey, no worries. You get one of the things that allows you to add different affiliations to your weapon.
Yes. So very important.
Very useful.
Yeah. But the main path will take you to a very imposing courtyard. And as we stand here looking down the barrels of literal guns, this might be where we have to break for part 2.
We'll be back next week to wrap this up, talk about this. And then after that, response, as we mentioned, mm-hmm. and then bam, Liurnia.
It'll be here before you know it.
One of my favorite overland areas of the game.
It's real good. You think when you walk into it, oh, okay, bogs. We got bogs. It's wetland kind of stuff. No, it's gigantic, and there's a ton of variety to it.
Yep. Lots of secrets. Lots of very cool vistas.
Yeah.
And I just like the story of that culture. Like if I lived in these worlds, I want to live in Liurnia.
Yeah.
Throw me up at the Hand Mansion. Fuck it.
The Albinaracs do not seem like bad folks. So
no, they seem great.
Yeah.
They're so cute. And you can wear their heads as helmets.
I don't think that they would like it if you did. They'd prefer you not.
Yeah, but I don't know. What are they going to do? Cartwheel me to death?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you. Keep an eye out for that post. And if you're hearing this, you are a patron. You've already done everything you need to do. The only thing you can really do is leave us ratings or reviews or tell your friends about the show. But
Please
basically, just keep coming back and listen to the other shows. Give them a shot if you would like.
Gosh, I don't even know what to say. Until next time, be our kind of tarnished.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon